Beautiful world that we live in, you're very welcome to the Soft and Systems Size to Sales. And this week we are talking about bridge the gap by using sales feedback to help us learn and grow. And with my good friend here, Shay Lynch, Mr. Future State, we're going to be elaborating a little bit further after this. So welcome back. So we're another exciting episode, and it's just going to be us two this week, which is awesome because we can tell our side of the story. But it's also good to have people and our guests arrive in here as well. But this week, I think it's really exceptional that you can just hear from us two and the narrative that we have. So Shay, we're talking about getting feedback from our customers. There's a whole realm of things that we can do here. But what's your gut feel on this? What's the first thing that we should do?
Well, I think as soon as you get a customer, you need feedback, Jason. The feedback cycle is the most underutilized process in business, right? In all areas of business, specifically sales. And it's super important to get feedback from your customers. And we touched on some of these thoughts last week.
Yeah.
It's not about saying, are you happy with the service or what do you think of the service? Because they won't give it, just say, yeah, everything's great. And that's
Yeah.
not very constructive, Jason. It's important to get constructive feedback. So one is, first of all, they may give it to you directly first, right? And second of all, you may go asking for it. But it has to be open, probing questions. What do you like about our service? What have you liked so far? What else would you like to see? What are you not happy about? What else can we do for
Mm.
you? All those, probe them, prompt them, Jason, to get it back. And then once you do that, then you can see, well, how can I evolve? How can I improve? And one of the things I always teach in sales, Jason, when you put so much work into getting the sale, right? It is super hard to get the sale. You brought them through the wholesale funnel. It's costly. You want to make sure you retain them. You
Mm.
want to make sure you grow that partnership with them because otherwise you're just going back to the start of the funnel. That's the most costly sale in the cycle, right? Getting repeat business, and you do it by offering value and continually to grow value with your clients. I always say give them the wow factor. And you can only give that when you get feedback, Jason.
Yeah.
You need to figure out what are the current problems you're solving. Are they happy? Number one. How else can you support their growth? And as you say, their customers could have customers. So how can you help their customers' pains with them? How can you partner with them? You can only do that by getting feedback.
Yeah. And ironically enough, I was flicking through Instagram earlier, and really lovely lady, Dory Clark, that I've spoken to before in the past. And she was saying about feedback today. And I went, she gave some really good pointers to that. Asking your customers, number one, for feedback is essential for business that we do, what we do well, what we can improve on. And it's a really good sense of that. But when your customers, and you're asking for feedback, but when your customers are giving you feedback without being asked, it's slightly different. And it could be sensed as maybe a moan or something like that. But I think we have to be proactive in this and make sure that we go out and go, all right, let's have a look at the feedback again. And let's have a look. We don't want a happy sheet. We want to make sure that we have provided the right service for you. We've managed your expectations. You love us. You like us. But you also tell other people about what we do really well. And the core with asking for feedback, if you're in the cell or you're after the cell or you're delivering it or whatever you're doing, is to ask them. Now you're a satisfied customer. is there anyone else out there that could avail of how satisfied you are to other people that could work well with us? And again, what we're doing there, we're making sure that they're our trophy. They're the people that are going to endorse us. They're the people that are actually going to say they're our salespeople. They're the ones that are actually going to endorse us for other people that they would know. And that's powerful feedback for ourselves because they're an endorsement. Now we've become that trusted advisor that they can lean on to us, but they're also going to provide us with other people that we can potentially work with. But we have to gain their trust, respect, and that credibility as well when we're doing that.
Yeah, no, that's it, Jason, and that is always the goal, by the way. Like I teach about the sales ecosystem, and first goal, get there's levels of trust, Jason, right? So let's start when you're trying to sell, they like you,
Yeah.
right? And the goal I always say is not to sell, it's to become trusted.
Yep.
So become trusted, build a relationship, and you have certain amount of touch points to go from like to trust to nudge them that direction. You get the sale, that's the first sign that they trust you. Now you have to prove, right?
Mm.
You have to warrant that trust. Okay. That's step two. So then you do that and you do it by getting feedback, Jason. And the goal of that is when you've done such a good job serving them, what I always like to say is, so I've really enjoyed working with you, right? I've loved helping solve your pains. I've really enjoyed. You're a fantastic customer, and I love that I could help you. Do you
Mm.
know anyone else like you, right? So you're complimenting them like you that I could potentially help as well to solve their pains. I would love to know. That's the way
Mm.
I like to approach it, Jason. But if you're doing such a good job, they should do that anyway because they love to help their friends in pain. And
Yeah.
if you're that good, they will do that naturally. And I've seen that. I've been involved in that referral cycle on different points of it. There's 3 points of that referral cycle. I've been on all 3 of them, Jason. And I will promote people that I know can help other people because I
Yeah.
want to help that person and I know they can. I trust them. So that is the goal, Jason, to become that, get them to become your brand advocates.
Yeah. They're the ambassador as well. And I think it's reciprocal as well, meaning you have to give to get, meaning do it for others as well. If you see a company that has done a good job for you, or you know how phenomenal they are, you refer them over to. I've done it loads of times. But then the gift is you do something phenomenally well, and it happened to me quite a few times last year. I did a 3-day workshop for the sales managers, including a leadership program. And then he brought me back in to do the rest of the team, which he did. And then he referred me over. And I went, I didn't even ask him to do that. And that was the good thing. And he referred me over to a bigger deal, which was I brought you in for a day. And that was all for a referral base because they knew what I'd done before in the past and they liked what I did and how I presented myself with that no bullshit approach to what I do in helping people buy. And that's what I do. And the same as yourself, really. We both probably come from a slightly different principle, but we both want to help people buy the products and services and help them engage a little bit further. And to go back onto feedback, and I'm probably jumping back, I think that is powerful. And feedback also by a testimonial, which is powerful. That's another endorsement. And a case study, that's another endorsement to what we do. Because that gives us an opportunity to, again, engage back with them.
Yeah.
Shay, back to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jason. And I always say, once you get to sale, you've got 3 things to do,
Mm,
right? Request feedback, number 1, right? Learn more about their business
yeah.
and their pain points, number 2. And then number 3, add more value. They're the 3 things you got to do with a customer. But it all starts with getting feedback first. Because you have to, if you don't get the right feedback, you can't go to the next store and open it, Jason. You have to get that feedback. If you don't get it, you can't move forward with that client, right?
Mm,
And going back, Jason, if they come back and give you feedback, so we've been talking about asking for feedback and asking the right way, probing to encourage, so they don't just say, "Oh, everything's fine." It's nice to hear, but it doesn't serve you or them. And sometimes it's just a way to cover up that they don't want to tell you something bad, right? And when anytime someone says to me, "Yeah, everything's great," tell me what's great,
Yeah.
right? And then tell me what you don't like. Tell me. And they go, "No, no." I said, "Look, tell me what you would like to see more of or better." And I'll keep asking Jason in a very nice way. I
Mm,
said, "Look, I'm here to really support you. I can only do that if I get the right feedback." Right. And that's the way I approach things all the time. But sometimes they will come to you with feedback. And if everything's going well and they're really happy, they'll tell you, "Look, everything's going great. You've been made such a difference. It's fantastic. Thank you so much." That's
mm,
great to hear that you've made a difference, Jason, right? But then you may say, "Look, we have a problem, all right? Something's not going right." And they may say, "Jason, well, things are we're just not happy." And I said, "That's good. That's great. Tell me what are you not happy about?" "Oh, it's just not working out." I said, "Tell me what's not working out."
yeah.
And it's about probing and digging, asking questions to get to the root. Because sometimes, Jason, would you be surprised? They could be just having a bad day and you could be the point of blame. And I know, like, because of the service industry we're in, it's easy to point fingers, Jason, right? And even things could look a certain way on the outside until you have the conversation. And that is why you have to probe,
Mm,
Jason, because like we are built on reputation in our worlds. We have to do a good job. I have no
yep.
choice but do a good job.
Yep.
I do my
Agree.
best to do a good job. And I'm always happy to take constructive criticism to prove we're not perfect. We're humans. We make mistakes. But tell me what that mistake exactly is so I can improve on it. And then show them that you've listened by changed behavior or changed actions. And remind them, "Look, I really appreciate your feedback. I hope you can see the difference."
Mm.
You know? So it's how you construct the language and the conversations around getting it to where you want to be.
Yeah, it's active listening, which is the key thing. It's two ears, one mouth. Use them both effectively, and then it's the same thing. It's to frame it back to them as if you've heard it well. And the feedback, if it's negative, I'd love to hear it because the only way I can change and learn and grow is okay. Sorry, that didn't work that well for you. What didn't work specifically with that? And if they can tell you and go, okay, well, thank you very much for that. Because I don't want to, it's nice to hear the happy things because it does boost your ego a little bit. It does make you feel good, but it's not the be or end. I'd rather just hear for next time, I would suggest you to do that. And I go, okay, excellent. Let me understand it correctly. You're suggesting that we do that. I tell you an example. I think it's a couple of weeks ago. I was doing a workshop and I was presenting on the screen. Well, so I thought I was presenting on the screen. I was using a Zoom and I wasn't presenting. And I got immediate feedback. And it was probably about 5 minutes or so. And I go, someone pinged me and said, you're not sharing your own screen. I went, okay, thank you so much for that. What I will do now is just go back again, rewind, and re-present what I just was supposed to present on the screen because it was on via Zoom and I couldn't. So now what I do, and I should have done that before, is double check that they can see what I'm presenting. I
Mm.
mean, that was powerful feedback to me because I might have done it 1,000 times before, but sometimes I go for a little bit of error, and that was good
Yeah.
feedback for me.
And here's another, this is how you take feedback to the next level, Jason, right? And like I learned a lot of my skills around feedback through my roots in engineering and lean and problem solving and all that, because that's what feedback is
Yeah,
solving problems. And even using, problem is probably sometimes the wrong word. It's always about how can you make something better from the current situation,
yeah,
right? Improve. Okay. And so when I get feedback like that, what I like to do is like, okay, I need to put on the screen number one, for example. So how can I make sure that never happens to me again? Right. So second of all, when I'm, and again, another great example, when you mean to record a Zoom and you forget, right? That's an easier one to forget, Jason, right?
yeah.
So what do I do now with my slides? My first slide is share screen. Second slide, press record. They're my first two slides of every Zoom I do if I'm
Mm,
doing a presentation. So now that never happens to me, right?
Yeah.
And because like you have to prove change behaviors, and this is where it's really important to, when you get that constructive feedback, you acknowledge it, you accept it, you say you appreciate it. Thank you. I think I understand. And to your point about active listening for me is not just about listening, it's about probing questions, digging
Mm,
deeper. So what you're saying is, so you clarify and agree, so you know you're talking about the same thing. So when you walk away, there's no ambiguity. And then you go, okay, now this is what I'm going to do. Then you do it. And then you go, well, how did I do doing the new thing I'm doing? Right. So you get their feedback again. Are you
mm,
happy with what we've changed? And follow through, Jason. It's so important. And here's another one: feedback, even if you're trying to get sales, right? And because again, it leads, this is how you get the sale. It's the same thing. If you are going to every sales meeting, you should be asking 5 to 6 questions through the course of a conversation, not like tick the box and interview style, but you need to get it, and you need to take feedback. Like, what did they like about your product or service? What did they didn't like? Or why did they choose you? Why didn't they choose you?
mm.
If you do that for every sales meeting of the day, of the week, of the month, you'll have amazing data in the database. Say, what's top 3 reasons why my customers didn't choose, or my marketplace didn't choose me? How can I
I think that's
remove
a
that?
really good, valid point that you made there, and it's something that not everyone does actually. Is uh, why didn't you it like you go through the pitch process and you're up with a flurry of other people and you didn't get the sale for whatever reason, and I think that's just so important thing to do. Could you give us some constructive feedback so I can learn and grow from that? And what
Mm.
specific things didn't you like, and what things did you like from our conversations that we had? And maybe it's my proposal, maybe it's something else, maybe it's something else, but let me learn from that and let me help me with that. So number one, I don't make that mistake again, but number two, you can help me with my process as well, but also you can help me get in front of you maybe a next time round if there was something else that we can do. It's just, I think that's really good positive to get, and I
Mm.
don't think everyone does it, and I think it's just so important for us to get that customer centric feedback from the stuff that didn't work, because you can't sell to every single person. If we were, we'd be perfect. It'd be great if we could, but in the real world it doesn't happen. We've all lost deals from one reason or another. It could be our personality, it could be something else, but what is it specifically? And I think that's a really good valid point.
It is, Jason. It's about understanding what's working well, what's not. What's
Mm,
working well, first of all, so you can keep doing it and make it better.
yeah,
What's not working well, so you need to change and tweak that. It could be
yeah.
your messaging. It could be something missing in a service that your competition is doing that your customers want or your marketplace wants. So these things are all, you need that feedback to continually improve.
Mm,
And that's how you improve your conversions. And those conversions are the same after the sale. If you want to get repeat sales from a customer, you need that feedback. And then as you build that trusting relationship, so there's levels of trust, Jason. The first level of trust is when they'll trial you, let you in and see round one. Let's see how we get on. Right.
yeah.
Then you have to prove you talk the talk up until now you have to walk the walk. And then not only just walk the walk and then some, Jason, a little bit more to show that you care about them. And then they start to really trust in you. Then you can open conversations. And you can only do that, go to that next door, as I said, when you get that feedback that they aren't really happy, right? And you know that intently. You can say by their body language, you know what they say, because then that's, now I can go to the next level with this client.
Mm. Yeah, and it is nice to go up to that next level once they're completely satisfied with your service, what you did. It's probably easy for us to pivot quite quickly because there's you, myself, and I. It, me, myself, and I. Should I actually say, when we're in the sales cycle, we can change quite quickly. But in a slightly larger organization, there might be multiple salespeople working on an account, so having that feedback between maybe two, maybe three people working on that big account, having that feedback, because one person might fail, the other two might be successful. But what was particularly wrong, what didn't happen well with that other person, so everyone can slightly pivot towards that and maybe change, pull that person out and get another salesperson in there, because it could be a personality type, it could be something else. So on the larger accounts, and I've seen it on the larger corporate accounts, is and multiple people, multiple stakeholders, and so on and so forth, and multiple people that want to buy on that same account. It could be a personality thing. So pull that person out and get someone else new, fresh, and in, that can actually build that relationship up in a better way. That could be the feedback.
Yeah. And that's it. It's all like the world revolves around feedback, Jason. When you start to walk as a kid and you fall down, you get feedback.
Yeah.
How do I not fall down again? When you're starting to ride a bike without stabilizers and you fall, it's all about falling, getting back up. Everything is feedback, Jason. The whole world revolves around feedback. We just don't know how to do it as effectively as we can in business as we
Yeah.
do in a personal life, and you know all about pain on hills, Jason. I know, like,
Yeah.
falling and hurting yourself. You want to make sure you don't want that to happen again. So that's feedback telling you what you should do next.
It's the same as if you buy something from a shop or a brand. I bought some trail runners last year, and they started to fall apart within a month of buying them. And I went back to the retailer and said, "Hang on a minute, these are falling back." And he went, "Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm going to let the brand owner know that this has happened. But in the meantime, I'm going to rectify the situation. I'm going to give you a brand spanking new pair." And that's good customer service. But that, from a seller point of view, they need to know that particular brand wasn't working for them.
Yeah.
So they need to tell that back to them and make them understand that,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah. And even on the other side of that coin, Jason, like, certain people will take advantage, right? They could have broken something and they say, look, this was broken when I got it. So here's the thing, Jason, right? And it's difficult for some retailers. So what I always like to do when I'm buying stuff is to meet the people and build a little bit of rapport. So they get the impression I'm not a person who takes advantage, because I'm not. And I want them to believe that. So when something does go wrong, they'll go, "Do you know what? I believe that person's telling the truth." And that is really important. And then they can make calculated decisions. To your point, well, that person deserves a recall and a new product or whatever
Mm.
it is. And again, it's a relationship. And then you thank them, because here's the thing, Jason. The reason why feedback is so important. Things don't always go according to plan. We're humans, as I said.
Yep.
So it's not just what you do when things are good, it's what you do when things aren't going well. And you can turn a complaint or an issue or negative feedback into a superpower by showing, look, we're going to put a band-aid on this. We're going to fix it so things keep moving. We're going to have it fixed next tomorrow. Ring them up. It's fixed before tomorrow, right? And now we're going to put a preventative measure in place that it's not going to happen again. It may take us 5 or 6 days, but when we have that solution, we're going to give you a call. Call them in 4. Give yourself a bit of work or like wiggle room
Mm.
to get back to them and show that you're exceeding their expectations that you've set out for them,
Yeah.
right? And then they see, well, like, things did go well, but this guy was amazing. He stayed with us all the way through, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do, and then some. And now everything's okay. I trust that person more. He's not just interested, or she's not just interested in getting a sale. They're interested in my pains. And it's a
Yeah.
great way to turn something negative into something positive, Jason.
I remember, as you were saying that, I remember a good few years ago when I was working in the ad agency world, and we had a piece of technology, but went into what I did was actually drove into town. I actually sat with the client, and then on the other line, I said, "Look, I have tech speaking to me, but also I want to be speaking to your tech. But sometimes you just have to go in and solve the challenge." It wasn't a major issue, but I wanted to go beyond what their expectations were and make sure that it was done there and then, because I wanted to become that person that they could just call up on. And I think you have to just depending on the client and the boundaries, but sometimes you have to go beyond expectations to go, I want to satisfy their needs because I think this is really important for feedback to us, but also just to make sure that they're getting the best value from ourselves as well. And I think we've probably hit the witching hour again. We know that feedback's important, but we didn't speak about the surveys that we could probably send through to clients as well for them to come back. And I think that's another important thing to add in. But one distinct thing that we've spoke about today, Shay.
You can't move forward without feedback, Jason. It's a superpower for business.
And there's no such thing as failure, only feedback, which can excel us forward. And I think that's us done for this week on the soft and system side to sales. And thank you, as always, to that fella there, Shay Lynch.
Thanks a lot. Great to chat, Jason, as always. And we'll see you next week on another episode of Soft System Side. That tongue twister, that soft and
easy for you to say.
The sales tongue twister.
All right, take care.